I just thought I'll give you a little bit about me so that you have a sense of why is this person giving all this gyan. Uh, uh, so I'm a techie by accident. Was trying for an MBA, ended up doing an MCA. But then 10 years post that, realized that no, the MBA dream is still alive. So went and then did my MBA from ISB. My work experience is probably almost as old as some of you. And when I was writing this, I sort of got a sense of how old I am. But in this experience, I've had the opportunity to be a software architect, then led accounts as a delivery manager, led globally learning and development for around 7,000 people, and now doing HR for 8,000 people. So that's what I do. But I part of this, some of the transitions that I made and some of the things that I really enjoy is mentoring people and really helping them maximize their potential. And while that's something that I do in my free time, but in addition to that, yeah, it's about I am an avid sports fan, so really missing the game today. I hope India does well. And apart from that, yep, it's a constant struggle now that you're not getting to play sports during the lockdown on how to manage to maintain your weight. So, yeah, that's about me. I will sort of dive deep into the topic. I just wanted to though say that uh, I think there's value for you all if your questions get answered as part of the session. So, at any point, if you have anything, feel free to unmute yourself and interrupt. It doesn't need to wait till the end. Or if you're more comfortable writing it in chat, you can put it out there and either Maya or Srila can uh, bring it up. Yeah. All right. So let's then dive into the topic. Yeah. Uh, so yeah, this is, I wish it was ancient Japanese wisdom, but this is just something that I came up with. And we'll talk a little bit about what being a career sensei means. Yeah? And I hope some of these references are going to be the Karate Kid and Cobra Kai. And I hope some of you at least have seen it. Let me start off by putting the reality out there. Dream jobs don't come easy, right? So dreaming about them is easy, but actually getting it is not. And if I were to break it down to a framework which you can use overall about converting this dream to reality, this is at least how I envision it, right? So it's really about systematic research, extensive preparation, narration frameworks, using those, and we'll go into detail there. Storytelling, which is a key aspect, which brings it all together. Exhaustive practice, and then definitely the least of it, but still important, interview hygiene. Right? So, and you typically might have heard the opposite when it comes to hygiene, but I just wanted to make sure you understand that it sort of all comes together. And what I'll try and do is try and break this down into what each one of these mean. Yeah? So let's go into first systematic research. Right? So at any point when you start your sort of your job journey, right, and when you're looking at what a dream job is, right, I think it needs to go beyond just I want to be, say, a software developer in Cisco, right? Or I want to be part of the supply chain and logistics team of Amazon, or things like that, right? I think it needs to go beyond that to understanding really one about the company, right? And if your dream job company is actually coming to campus, and pre-placement talks are a great way to understand what do they stand for, what are they looking for, right? And what is the type of work they do. But even if they don't, there is enough material out there for you to understand the industry, understand the product or products that they build, what market they are in, and what are some of the competition that they're up against, right? Uh, what this does is helps you go beyond just the job to understand what the company is all about and have a much more engaging conversation with your interview. Right? So that is one bit. Right? The second bit of research is around the job itself. Right? Ultimately, when somebody is looking to hire you, they're trying to see here are my requirements. Do you have those traits that meet those requirements? So if you don't have a sense of what the job entails, you basically are going in blind, right? And you're trying to fit yourself to something that you don't exactly know what it is, right? So it's really important for you to understand the actual job that you're looking at, right? And the job has two parts to it. Typically, a good job JD, it talks about the needed traits, but it also talks about the company culture. And your ability to map both of those, along with an understanding of the selection process, again improves your chances of success. And the third, and I think almost every one of us is guilty of this, is we don't leverage our network. And what I mean by that is trying to find out people who either have in the dream job or had that dream job in the past or have a view on it, right? So be it alumni, right, and be it personal network. Uh, Understanding of what does it take to land the role, and I sort of missed it out here, but also what does it take to then be successful in the role. I think getting a sense of that again will help you crystallize your thoughts better to get into this discussion with the interviewers. Okay? So key part, a lot of us end up uh, going in blind, and that really comes across in the interview, right? If the a simple question that a lot of interviewers tend to ask is, "Hey, have you seen our company website?" Right? A lot of people haven't, right? And they've gone in saying, "This is my dream job," right? Or why do you think you'll be a good fit for our company, right? Or why do you think you'll be able to do this role? If you haven't done this type of research, you're not going to be able to answer these questions effectively. Okay, so that's the research bit, right? As you would have sort of already got a sense from this, that this isn't just about a few minutes of work. There is extensive preparation that is required, right? And when I talk about this extensive preparation, right, anything, any job journey, there might be a few cool companies out there, maybe who don't ask for resumes and have other ways, right? But the majority of it sort of starts, the journey starts through resume shortlisting. And what you need to do is now that you have a good sense of through your research, right, what your dream job requires, is to now look inwards and say, what are the things that I can put in my resume? Don't create a resume. I think that's a common mistake that we do. We start with creation of the resume. Actually, it needs to start with creation of what all would you like in your resume and just listing all of it down, right? And listing it down in a format where it's not a project or this thing, right? You are not building a JD, right? So you're not building a job description for them, right? You are going to be talking about yourself, right? And for that, what you need to do is to each of these activities that you sort of list down, right? You need to think about who did it benefit, right? If you can think about some business outcome or some results of your task, right? Scale, and we'll come into scale a lot more in Star, right? But then most important, what was your specific role in that task, right? Again, the fact that an event happened is not important. What did you do to make that event happen? That is key, right? So you need to sort of break down your tasks and really look at what your role is and what were some of the outcomes out of it, right? When you will do this and you will compare this to your research, you will identify gaps, right? So for example, maybe there's a gap of you have extensive maybe academic experience, say in networking, right? Uh, but there, what they're asking for is also applied knowledge, right? Now, the moment you see that gap, you say, okay, what are the research project that I do, right? Maybe it's an app that I build, right? You will start coming up with potential solutions for those gaps and be able to then actually get to the type of laundry list that you need for your dream job, right? So again, the resume is a sum result of your efforts, right? You can say better, you can market it better, but you do need content, right? So depending on where your job journey, and you might feel, oh, now it's too late, right? Depending on where you are in your placement process. But your career starts now. It doesn't it's not the start end of your career, right? So this is something which will work for you throughout your entire career. And so this approach, right, even if you feel you started late for now, right, there is no late actually, because this is a continuous journey. So make sure that your prep journey again is through your career. All of this again, I would say, is the groundwork, and you can choose to forget this all in this session. If choose to forget this all, I would say no harm done. But this next bit, I think this is where the meat of the discussion is, and this is where I think you can actually take actionable inputs out, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about narration frameworks. And when I say that, these are ways that you can tell your story better, right? And there are a few frameworks that we're going to discuss. There can be many more, but at least these I feel cover pretty much most of what you want to put in your resume, and how you want to sort of present yourself in interviews, right? Uh, and let's go through it, right? The first one is introduction, and uh, believe me, first impressions matter. They matter greatly, right? And some of the common mistakes that we end up making is our introduction is too long. It just goes on, right? And at some point, maybe somebody has to interrupt you and say, yeah, and here's my next question, right? Or it's a series of facts, right? It's something that you've said in chronological order, right, of what happened in your life. If I were to look at sort of giving you a framework on how to answer this, right, this is one framework, and I'm not saying that this is the only way, but this is at least one way, right, is to really tell this story to say, why you are doing what you're doing. What are some of the things that you've done to maximize this experience, right? If you've got work experience, you're going to talk about those too. Just some major extra, we'll talk about those. And then actually use this as a hook for your next question is to talk about why you want this job, right? So let me sort of maybe give an example, right? And I'll take engineer example because every third person in India is an engineer, so my guess is most of you will relate to. Uh, so it could be like, for example, as a child, I always used to love tinkering. In fact, my parents were sick and tired of me breaking open every toy and seeing what's inside this. As this went on, I discovered that I have a passion not just towards tinkering, but understanding how things function. This is what led me to pursue a career in engineering. As part of this pursuit, I've been learning about uh, various aspects of engineering, and my interest gravitated towards software engineering, and that's where I've been specializing. In college, I also discovered a whole world of theater and arts, and apart from while I'm maybe hacking an app or maybe doing a research project on deep learning, I spend my time playing Hamlet in Shakespeare play. Uh, all of this has really readied me to now look at a career in software engineering, and the experience that I have with programming languages and networking protocols makes me really excited about pursuing an opportunity with Cisco. Right? Now, the chances are when you say something like this, right, either the question would come as to, hey, you said networking protocols, what protocols you know, right? Or it could be, hey, you said you really want to pursue this opportunity to Cisco, why Cisco, right? Uh, and both of those you could already be prepared for, right? So it's really important to build this hook, because in any interview, if you're able to control the narrative, you have a higher chance of success, right? So it's really important that keep it crisp, right? This is one style. You can use any style, but it doesn't need to be in chronological order. And that's something that a lot of folks do, right? They start with from where they were born to the family and what did their father do, and so on and so forth, right? And by the time you've actually reached to the meat of the story, right, which is about you because it's your introduction, it's possible that the interview is already sort of switched off, right? So really keep it about you, right? And I know it sounds egoistic, but the question is that tell me about yourself, right? Introduce yourself. So it needs to be about you and keep it crisp and build a story. You know? Yeah. The next framework is a framework for life, not just for resumes or interview. And I think it's a way of thinking. Uh, you can make a statement or you can think of anything in life as there is a situation, right? There's a context. There is some reason why this thing is occurring, right? There is the actual problem statement because of the situation. There are things that you are doing to solve the problem, and there has to be some outcome, some end result, right? We call this star, and I'm going to give a few examples to help really, hopefully, burn this through in your psyche, right? So let's take one example. Right? I don't know if there's a hand raise feature, but just how many of you just go back into your resume? Do you have something like this? My sense is most of you would have something like this or a flavor of this, right? Made an event management website or made a website for some CSR work, right? This is a common resume point that you would put in, right? Or volunteered for something, right? So now let's look at if you were to use the STAR framework, how can we convert this to more meaningful and impactful point? And the reason why I'm saying this is if you were to ask your friends, right, out of 10, maybe 7 or 8 have a similar point, right? So what that means is if I remove your name and other personally identifiable information from your resume, there is no difference between your resume and somebody else's. And if you have to bring this differentiation, STAR is a great way to do it. So let's take this situation, right? Why did you build this event management website? And I'm just putting a reason. You could have your own reason, right? But let's assume it's because there's low participation, right? People are not really turning up for college events and you want to fix that, right? So the task is fixing that's your problem statement, right? Now let's talk about what are the actions. So you understood the requirements. You created a marketing strategy for this. You presented maybe the strategy to the college leadership. Maybe they needed to approve this for you to be able to create this. And then you implemented the website. And then the key bit, what was the result of doing all of this, right? The reach has improved or you are able to conduct events more easily, right? And if you want to differentiate even further, right, you put in actual measurable results, right? You say reach has improved by X percentage. Maybe number of events conducted has doubled, right? Maybe you received recognition from your college principal, right? Uh, maybe you got featured in the newspaper because of this, right? So a simple line in your resume of made an event management website for college using Node.js and can actually transform to this. And I'll just pause, let you read this through. Right? And if you want to sort of scale it even further, it can transform to this, right? So now your resume says that you led a 3-member event management team for a 3,000-member college, used marketing strategy to build this event management website, which led to double the number of events conducted and increase in footfall by X percentage. Again, read the first one. Made an event management website for college using this versus the point below. And do you see the difference of impression that can be created with this? What you've done is you've brought in scale. So somebody understands, was it an event management for 50 people or 3,000 people, right? You've brought in result. So now there is an understanding of why this was built and what impact it led to, right? And you've gone beyond just the tech to the overall story. And if you want, you can sure put in the tech too, right? You let the 3-member build this website using X, Y, and Z leading to this, sure, right? If you really want the tech story to also come. But ultimately, what needs to come out is why was this done and what it did lead to. And star is a great way. And this is not just for projects. You can use this actually for every point in your resume. Uh, Tech Fest event coordinator, right? Again, right? Here's another. Like, what is the situation? There's volunteers, there's budget, there's organizing a 2-day technical festival, right? You've led a team and managed. This was the result. So I'm trying to give multiple examples so that you can get a sense of how this can go, right? And you are at a very early stage in your career. As you will sort of start getting into your work experience, you'll realize that even in Star, you can have levels, right? It could be as simple as what you are putting, which is a task. I developed a shell script. It searches a bank's fraud database, right? And if there is fraud found, it'll raise an alarm. That is how you can look at a task. The other way to look at it is I developed this program, you start putting in scale, right? So it's not, oh, I didn't sort of go through some 100 records in Excel. I actually looked through 10 terabytes of data, right? Which led to reducing of the redundancy by this much, right? Helped increase alarm efficiency, and ultimately all of that is being done to save some money, right? So that's your operational view. The collaborative views, as you sort of go in even further, right, as to who did you work with and what did it lead to, right? Not just at a project level, sorry, at a task level, but at a project level. And then the strategic level is when you're sort of really senior, and I won't go into this right now, I think, but just wanted to give you a flavor of even the STAR framework can keep evolving as you go through your career. Yeah. I'm going to pause at this point because I know there's a lot of any questions or anything that is coming to mind, or I'm going to count to like 5 in my mind. And if there's none, I'll move forward. Is this, at least I just want to make sure, is it making sense? Is it too much? Is there maybe a counter example that you have? Any challenges that you're facing?
It's making sense of.
Yeah. All right. All right. I will just recommend if you have open your resumes by the side and just now look at your some of your points. You'll already start seeing uh, how you can start differentiating yourself. Yeah. And just wanted to put an example out there. This is a fresher CV, right? Did some internship, did some education out there, right? And the entire thing is being rewritten using Star. And every single line in your resume, right? And I looked at some of the sample resumes, and I think over the years, I think the presentation has just improved dramatically, right? We used to have these type of boring resumes, right? And the presentation is much more visual, and it's uh, multi-column layouts and so on and so forth, right? And I think that's something over the years I think have improved. But I do feel on the content side, we are still where we were a few years ago. And uh, great marketing comes with not just great visualization, but also great content. And that's where you can differentiate yourself in a really crowded space. Yeah. The next framework I would say is it's star with a zing. We call it headlining, and it's in case the interview is bored or feeling like you have these speed dating type interviews, 5, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Right? And what you can do is basically what you've created as your resume point, right? Use that as the headline, right? And then you can go into this complete narrative of the star format, right? The actual story, only if the interview is showing interest. So it's again a great way to give crisp answers while still making sure all that is important is out there. Right? Star is the perfect format for behavioral questions, right? So if somebody asks you what's your greatest achievement, right? You talk about the situation, you talk about the task, you talk about what actions you did, and what results happened, right? Biggest challenge, leadership example, teamwork example, failure example, anything you can use the start tool. The next is again talking threes, and like every story they say it has three parts: a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? And that's important even when you're answering any question, because if you give a single point, it sort of feels like you haven't thought enough about it. It feels limiting. If you start to give more than 3 points to an answer, right, it becomes difficult to process. And there is some research, some science also about it. And sort of anytime watch some of the really good speakers, you will see, you typically heard the three top reasons for this are the three most important things to consider are the number three is very common among people who are in the consulting field or who are in the field of presentation, right? And again, this is a perfect framework for questions like why you, right? Why this job? Why this company? Strengths, right? Weaknesses, maybe you don't want to go three, but questions like these, which require you to sort of give a viewpoint, you can always use the three this thing. Right? What are some of the issues that you see here? Here are the top three issues that I see. What are some of the you would say key summary from this exercise that you did? Here are the top three key points. So again, it's a way of making sure your answer is crisp and concise. And the moment when you start to lead with three, right, you're very clearly setting expectations that I'm going to say X, Y, and Z. So you don't have this awkward pause where you finish something and the interviewer is sort of waiting. And are you done or are you going to be saying more? Right? So again, use this extensively for questions of this nature, right? And try and when you sort of answer these why questions, right, at least again, go back to your research, go back to your prep, link those to company while makes you somebody that people want to talk to. All that you did out there, right, was the science of it, right? It was the breaking down into frameworks and structuring it and making sure all the right things are being said. And that's what a resume is. It's about facts, right? But your interviews are all going to be about stories. And it's about you practicing, and it'll sound mechanical. Make it like a story that you are deeply connected to looking to share. Right? These beginning, middle, and end. Think about what have maybe 4 or 5 key examples in your life. Be prepared with multiple versions of the same story, right? So if you really did a kick-ass job of doing this event, right, that could potentially be a leadership story. It could potentially be a teamwork story. It could potentially be a challenge story, right? So it could all come together. You need to be able to build different versions of stories for the same event. Yeah? The second last is, I think you already would have got a sense of it. It's a lot of work, right? And all of this will only happen when you're doing a lot of practice, right? When you're creating these questions, you're creating the answers to these questions, you're sort of doing self-reflection, refining it, and then you're first maybe going to your classmates and practicing it with them. Then as you get more confident, maybe alums, and then depending on how your relationship are with professors or with folks in the industry, using them to hear your stories, to do mock interviews and really get better at it. And the last, which really, as I said, you probably get the most material around this, which is the hygiene bit, right? It's important because again, it's the basics, and when you get the basics wrong, sort of, I won't go too much into detail. You can get the deck and you can sort of look at it, right? But in this one bit, and in which I've seen again, sort of people tend to not be prepared, which is a cardinal sin, is not have questions for the interviewer. And maybe the interviewer is not going to give you that chance, in which case it's fine. But if they ask you, hey, if do you have any question for us, and you've nothing, it just shows a level of non-preparedness as well as level of disinterest, which can go against you, right? And some of the things that you can really do, right? You can one use this as an opportunity, right? Maybe there's an achievement of yours which just did not get covered, right? So maybe you're you're really into social work, for example, right? Now, the way you could frame this question is, during my entire college life, I've been working with this NGO in helping spread education among the underprivileged, and this is something that I'm really passionate about. Is there work that the company also does in this space? The moment you put this out, you've also given the opportunity does in this space, right? So it could be maybe your interest in robotics, or it could be some hackathon that you've won, right? You can use all of those as hooks to actually cover something which wasn't covered in the interview. And apart from this, I think even if you don't have that, right, and you don't want to do that, you could general questions, right? People love talking about themselves, right? So if you ask them how their experience has been, right, or what a typical day for them is, right, and what do they think really stands out in the organization that they're in, it really helps them open up and talk a little bit about themselves, which is the easiest thing for anyone to do, and probably the most gratifying thing to do, right? And third could be just subject related stuff, right? As to how does the induction or the integration happen? How does career path progression happen? So there are lots of themes around which you can ask your questions. Make sure that you're prepared for them and you don't lose that opportunity. So have that question bank in place. So let me just overall recap it. Be prepared to put in the hard yards, right? This is not an easy ride. Be critical about your work, constantly look to improve. You need good content, right? Without that, there is no story. And then most important, I think we all are guilty of underselling ourselves. When you look at the top brands, the reason why they spend a lot of money, a lot of effort in marketing is they realize that there are hundreds of top brands out there and one needs to stand out in the market. You should think of yourself as a brand too. You are in this really crowded market where there are many other such top brands. You need to be able to market yourself. But I just want to make sure, like, dreaming about your job is really good. It gives you the inspiration, but you need to be your career sensei. You need to put in those hard yards. And if you do that, the chances are very high, because most people don't do it. The chances are very high that you land it. All right, that's what I had. Thank you so much, everyone, for time. And if there are questions, I'll be happy to uh, take them on.
Thank you, Mukund. Thank you so much. That was a very, very crisp presentation, and I'm hoping the students would have liked it. Can any questions, guys? Please, you can always put it in chat, and we can ask, or you can unmute your mic and ask as well. Please feel free. Thank you.
And they don't need to be necessarily around the presentation. It's anything else wrong.
Yeah. Anything about placements, resumes, interviews, anything, please do ask. Please feel free.
So I just want to thank you. Like, I personally don't have a question for it, but this session was really informative. I wish, even though I'm a pass out, I wish when I was in fourth year, like many of my friends could have listened to this. Like, it's really, really informative. Even though we had sessions when we were ready for placements, I don't think someone actually talked to us about it in this detail. Like, so, and this is really helpful, sir. So thank you. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Jillian. And yeah, as I said, this year two, pretty much we're going to be spending 30, 40 years doing working. So yeah, it's useful throughout. So hopefully, yeah, if not, I know the timing is probably a year later from our college placements, but hopefully this is useful for you in the future.
Guys, please feel free to ask questions. Any questions you have regarding anything?
Typically, when this happens, either everything is understood or nothing. My sense is going towards a nothing, but but
No. Okay, that is the question. Sir, does internships while in college play a key role for an impressive resume?
so I would say it helps, right? Again, see, the more you can showcase from a perspective of beyond academics, right? It helps. Again, what you've done as part of your internship, uh, I think is also important to highlight because if it relates to the type of job that you're applying for, then again, it will help more. So if you get the opportunity, you should definitely do internship. Even if you haven't got the opportunity, but I don't think that's the end of the right. I think you have ways to balance it out. You could show pet projects that you've done. You could show competitions that you've been part of, right? You could show apps that you yourself built, right? And maybe you could sort of demo on the. So there are ways to counter it too, even if you don't have the internship. But uh, every bit in your resume that you can add on, obviously. But
Guys, don't please don't forget to fill the feedback form. The feedback form is going to be sent to you, put in chat. So please do fill in the feedback form. Okay, there's another question. Any tips for behavioral interview?
So I would say the behavioral interview is just star. It's just that, right? So what is a behavioral interview, right? A behavioral interview is there are two types of this thing, right? One is direct questions, right? What are your strengths, right? And the other type of question is situations, right? Where maybe they're sort of putting you in a role play, right? So for example, you are put in this project, there is a deadline tomorrow, right? There is lots of work to do. How will you handle it, right? So it's either situations, right, or it's direct questions about your behavior. In both cases, right, you could see either you could answer from experience, I think at that point, or you could use a star format, right? If it's a direct question, you already should have prepared for it, right? So you can talk about your strengths, or you can talk about if somebody says, you mention your leadership qualities, right? How do you say that? It shouldn't be about, oh, I have leadership qualities because I was head boy of my school or I was head girl of my school, right? Sure, right? But what made you the head boy? But even more importantly, what did you do as the head boy, right? I think that's where the leadership bit will come in, right? And when put in a situational role, again, right, it should be about in this situation, right? These are the type of things I would do to get these type of results, right? So really look at it from that perspective.
Another question. We have always heard that resumes shouldn't be too long. Does the star method make it long?
So at your stage, I wouldn't fall. I think we oldies have a bigger problem of trying to put everything in. My resume after 18 years of experience with star format is 2 pages. So it's not about what you have to do is when you have more content is to look at what content is relevant for the job that you're applying for and put that in there, right? I would say till at least 10 years of your life, it shouldn't be more than a single page resume. And all of it is possible with Star. So what you're doing with Star is you're taking the story out, you're taking the job description uh, text out, and you're just talking about yourself. And the resume that I showed you as a sample, like, that is a one-page resume. That's it. Right? And that person has a lot to say, right? And not all of us at college time will have that much to say. And so you will need to start getting creative and put your photo and put some other stuff out there to sort of make it for a page. Focus on the meat. Length is not going to be an issue at all.
Okay. Any more questions? Anybody? All right. No more?
All right.
How to be impactful in big product-based companies?
So now I'm going to put you on the spot, Shashank. I'm going to have a conversation with you because this question by itself, I could answer it in 100 ways. So if you can just, if it's possible, unmute yourself and talk a little bit more about what do you mean by big product-based companies and what exactly are you looking to do in these big projects?
Hello, hi sir.
Hi,
What
Shashank.
what I actually meant is like we, our companies, our replacement season is coming up, and our college has like a lot of average level companies coming up. There, except two or three companies, we don't have a lot of big companies coming onto our campus. So if we want to, go for a better companies or big or product based companies, like, we need to go for off campus, and cracking that is really hard. And I just wanted to know that we being from a an average good or average college, how can we make impact on those interviews, because it's earning them is hard. And
Yeah.
if a company goes to a good campus or top tier one colleges, they know that yeah, that guy has done achieved something. So now maybe like how to go about that, being from a very not a tier one,
Yeah.
like
Great. Now I have full context on the question. So, just anybody, if you can answer, like, how long do you think a recruiter spends on a resume?
I've heard as like as much I've explored, it's like 20 seconds, I guess. Like as
Yeah.
people say, 1 minute max to max.
Literally, that's what it is, right? Now, in that 20 seconds, if all they can see is your college, your photo, and some three, 4 points, right?
Yes, sir.
Which, if they were to again remove your name and your photo, would be the same as 300 people, other people from your college who applied. Chances are really low, right? So, as you said, right, there's a handicap, right? If you had an IIT, right, then that's all that is required, right? Most of the folks would just look at this IIT, or person managed to get through IIT, let's at least give a chance, like, let's take them to the interview, right? When you don't have that, right, then it's the meat of your content which is going to stand out, right? So now if you're looking at a product company, right, what are they looking for? They're looking for hardcore techies, right? So they're looking for people who really stand out in the tech space. And for you to then really be able to do that is use the star format to highlight some of the tech work that you've done. So competition that you've participated in, apps that you've built, maybe websites that you've created, right? Uh, maybe some college research project that you've done, right? You need to be able to highlight that in your resume, right? To get a chance to get a seat at the table, right? So the interview in my mind is a second bit. My sense is most times the call itself doesn't come, right? So that's the first bit, right? So to try and get that, to get a
Yes, sir.
seat at the table. Once you have a seat at the table, it's all going to be about your threat. See, if they've got you a seat at the table means they are looking to hire, right? Otherwise they won't bother, because the most expensive process in hiring is actually having someone from the company take out the time to interview candidates, right? So you've crossed that barrier where they just are not looking at this as a waste of time to now saying, okay, I want to spend time with this person and I want to really understand if this person can be a good fit. And for that, then it's all about the sensei, right? You have to be a career sensei. It won't happen by just wishing to be a part of this company, right? It'll be about understanding that company, understanding what this role requires, what have you done which can build a good story to this role, being able to talk about it in a nice, confident manner, right? And be engaging throughout your process, right? So I wish I could have a more like an easier way this, but this is the reality. But if you put in this effort, it might not happen first attempt, second attempt, but it will happen. It will happen. And that I can guarantee. That 5 years ago, I would have said no, because there was just too much snobbery. These big product companies would not go beyond some of the colleges. But now everybody has realized that smart people exist everywhere, right? Giving them the opportunity, but there are far too many applicants. So now it's up to you to stand out in that crowd.
Thank you, sir.
There's another question. Can you give us few tips for GD group
I think
discussion?
it's the worst form of selection. I'll be honest. I just find it's a terrible way of filtering people. This is not how jobs are. We're not going to go into a job and try and within 10 minutes in a team meeting make your point across, right? But unfortunately, it's some companies still are persistent with this, right? So having said that, I think the most important point is speak in the GD. And I sound stupid, but so many of us end up coming out of the GD not having spoken at all. And I have been in my student days guilty of it. I didn't get through. When I said I had this MBA dream and ended up in MCA, it's because I was terrible at GDs and I was politely waiting for my chance and trying to make the right point at the right time and realize that there is no right time. So you need to be able to come in into a GD and speak. If you are confident enough, you can kickstart the introduction if you think that's something that you're comfortable with. But there'll be many points within. What is important is that you're listening through the GD so that when you make your point, it's not a repetition of the previous one, right? So it's not just about always constantly fixating about I need to make my point, I need to make the point, to looking at what are people saying and what can I add to this conversation, right? Which will make me again stand out. Where in all that cacophony that happened, the person sort of evaluating the GD remembers that there's this one sensible point that this person made, right? So being able to add value to that conversation by listening in and then coming in, and even if you don't get multiple opportunities, but when you speak with clarity and use the star format. Again, I would say you could make a one-liner, right? Or you could ramble on till somebody else says, "Oh, this person is eating my time. Let me interrupt and kickstart." Right? Use this story, put your point across quickly, crisply. This is what at least I would depend. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the format.
Any more questions? Maybe? Okay, please don't forget to fill the feedback form. Your feedback is really important so that we can get to know, how to grow, and also for the speaker, it helps. So please do fill in the feedback form. And yeah, thank you, Mukund. I think that we'll kind of wrap up the session. There are no questions. Anybody else? No? Yes.
Thank you,
Okay.
thank you everyone
So yeah,
for being patient and hearing
yeah,
this. And
it was very nice. I mean, I'm sure. So just to give you a context, I've been with this university for 2.5 years, and we always placement as soon as placements come, we always have sessions for soft skills and blah blah, but none of them have ever covered frameworks, which I think is seriously important when you make your resumes, because as you said, people keep making really long resumes and everything. So I'm hoping with your tips, the students can actually sort out how to make a resume well and do well in their interviews, now that they have these frameworks in mind. So thank you so much. It was a very informative session, Mukund. Thank you so
my
much.
pleasure, my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Best of luck, everyone, with your placement process and your careers.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. And next week, we'll be having Voice Your Worries with Ishani Chakrabarti. So if you have any mental queries, you want to put it out anonymously in Google Form, the form has already been floated. Please do put in your queries and she will be answering it. The mental health expert will be answering it next week. So thank you. Thank you so much. And
Thank you
have a
so much, sir.
wonderful weekend. Thank you.
You're welcome.